Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to trace the dramatic 12,000-year evolution of Albuquerque. We'll explore exactly how this incredible place transformed from its ancient indigenous roots all the way into the sprawling atomic-age metropolis that it is today.
Here's our roadmap. We'll start with the ancient pueblos, move to the Spanish Villa of 1706, cover the territory and Civil War era, the arrival of the railroad, the atomic age boom, and finally Albuquerque today. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. Roots, the ancient pueblos. We've got to begin by exploring the deep history of the Rio Grande Valley. Long before any European contact, this area was absolutely teeming with life and innovation.
Over millennia, this region went through a massive transition. Starting way back around 10,000 BC, you had Paleo-Indian hunter-gatherers roaming the area. But then, around 1500 BCE, they actually started cultivating maize. Fast forward to 750 CE, and they were building these incredible multi-story dwellings, completely transitioning into the sophisticated, sedentary Tiwa people.
What's truly fascinating here is the sheer scale of their society. The Tiwa people completely transformed the landscape. They didn't just survive, they thrived by working with the rhythms of the river. They engineered complex irrigation systems to grow corn, beans, and squash, and they set up massive, robust trade networks all across the Southwest. Essentially, they laid the vital physical foundation for everything that followed.
Section 2. 1706. The Spanish Villa. Let's fast forward and see how the arrival of Spanish colonists shifted the entire dynamic of the valley forever.
So, the crucial point here actually starts with a name. The colonial outpost was chartered by Governor Francisco Cuervo y Valdés, and he strategically decided to name the new villa in honor of the 10th Duke of Albuquerque, who happened to be the Viceroy of New Spain at the time. You know, a classic political move to gain a little favor.
And Cuervo wanted to make absolutely sure his superiors knew what a fantastic job he was doing. He proudly documented the founding in a letter to the King of Spain, claiming to have settled 35 families, laid out the streets, and even built a spacious church. But he really emphasized that he did all of this without spending a single peso from the royal treasury. He definitely wanted them to know the colonists footed the bill themselves.
But as time went on, the city's name went through a kind of funny accidental rebranding. Over the centuries, that first R in Albuquerque was simply dropped. Today, obviously, the spelling is Albuquerque, leaving locals to joke that when you visit, you just have to learn how to mispronounce it correctly.
Section 3. Territory and Civil War. As we step into the 19th century, this quiet agricultural outpost suddenly finds itself caught up in sweeping national conflicts.
The flag flying over the city changed rapidly during this era. After Mexico gained independence from Spain in 1821, Albuquerque became a Mexican territory. Then, in 1846, the U.S. military swooped in and took control without resistance, transforming the old plaza into a bustling U.S. Army post. But the real drama? That hit in March 1862, during the American Civil War, when Confederate troops from Texas actually captured the town.
Which leads to one of my absolute favorite details in all of Albuquerque's history. By April 1862, after a long-range artillery skirmish with Union forces, the Confederates realized they had to retreat back to Texas, but their cannons were just way too heavy to drag back across the desert. So what did they do? They literally buried their artillery right in the dirt of the Old Town Plaza before fleeing. It just anchors this era with such a wild, tangible detail. Section 4. The railroad changes everything. Right, so everything we've learned so far, the ancient agricultural roots, the Spanish Plaza, changes drastically in 1880 with the piercing shriek of a locomotive. When the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railway finally came through, speculators basically bought up land a mile and a half away from the old Spanish Plaza. They built the depot out there, which instantly created a brand new town. So while Old Town maintained its organic, traditional adobe layout, New Town was built on a strict, commercial, Midwestern grid by a civil engineer. It's an unbelievable contrast. This physical distance, just a mile and a half, literally split the city's soul right in two. You had centuries of traditional Hispanic culture and agricultural economy clashing with the frantic, cash-driven boom of American modernization. Newtown was suddenly packed with Anglo-American immigrants, throwing up Victorian brick buildings and saloons, completely overshadowing the older, plaza-centric community. Because it was completely bypassed by this shiny new commercial hub, Old Town faded into a quiet, declining neighborhood.
It became entirely separate in both space and style. In fact, it's kind of mind-blowing to think about, but the original Old Town wasn't even formally annexed into the modern city limits of Albuquerque until 1949.
Section 5. The Atomic Age Boom. Speaking of the 1940s, while the railroad brought the city's first major boom, the Second World War brought an explosion of entirely different proportions.
The federal government quickly realized the desert was absolutely perfect for military and scientific expansion. In 1941, they established what is now Kirtland Air Force Base. Combine that with the top-secret nuclear research of the Manhattan Project just down the road, and suddenly this dusty town was right at the very center of America's national defense strategy. And then Sandia Base, which became Sandia National Labs, just kept this massive influx of military and scientific personnel going straight through the post-war years.
And because of this, the sheer population growth is staggering. The number of people living there nearly tripled in just 10 years, jumping to almost 97,000 by 1950. And the crazy part? It would double again by 1960. The city was just bursting at the seams.
Section 6. Albuquerque today. Finally, let's look at how all of these distinct eras culminated into the modern landscape of the city today. I mean, how does a city even handle that kind of explosive growth?
Well, mostly through sprawl. The post-war decades brought massive decentralization. You had Route 66 bringing a huge wave of mid-century tourism, but then the 1960s freeway systems pulled traffic right away from downtown. We saw contiguous subdivisions and auto-oriented suburbs stretching the city far out into the desert, way beyond its original footprint by the river. All of this while high-tech industries like Intel moved in to anchor the local economy.
Which kind of brings us back to where we started. Today, Old Town is this tiny historic island surrounded by asphalt. The 18th century San Felipe de Neri church sits completely enveloped by modern life. If you stand in the historic plaza today and pivot just a little bit, your view is blocked by modern chain pharmacies and vast parking lots. It's a really stark visual reminder of the friction between the past and the present.
So we leave you with this final thought. As Albuquerque continues to sprawl further into the desert, how does a city with a 12,000-year-old footprint preserve its ancient soul? Balancing explosive, high-tech modern growth with such deep indigenous and colonial roots is for sure the ultimate challenge for the Duke City. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer. I hope it helped bring Albuquerque's incredible story to life.